Knon 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to knon.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.
I'm watching the on-air sign. Good morning. This is the Workers Beat. The number is 972-647-1893. I'm Gene Lantz. Bonnie Mathias is around here somewhere, soon be online. And I want to make several announcements. I thought that tonight was when the IFCO Pastors for Peace journey to Santiago, Cuba took place, and it was last night, right? Okay, well, write that one off. They had a very good event and raised $325 for flood relief in Cuba. And the Pastors for Peace buses or trains or cars are on their way to Santiago, Cuba. And congratulations to Pan-African Connection Bookstore for hosting that. On Monday, July 15th, a National Day of Action to defend abortion rights at Dallas City Hall at 7 p.m. This event is organized by a new network, Dallas For Reproductive Justice, and they can be reached at Dallas 4. That's a numeral 4, Dallas4RJ@gmail.com, Monday at 7 o'clock. On July the 18th, which I think is Thursday, at 11:10 a.m., Richard Trumka speaks at the Texas AFl-CIO convention, and that we'll have listening sessions that afternoon. The Texas Alliance for Retired Americans meets at 4 o'clock on Thursday. The constituency groups, that's all the groups around the AFl-CIO that reach out to different constituencies, will meet at 8 a.m. on the 19th, that's Friday. You're supposed to call the AFl-CIO to get reservations made, but I just found out that you can just show up. So that's at the Sheraton Hotel at Highway 114 and the DFW.
Esther's is the...
And Bonnie says it's...
Esther's Road.
Esther's Road is the turnoff, yeah. Okay, but you can see the Sheraton Hotel. If you're driving up Highway 114 and going up toward the front of the DFW, on the north end of DFW, then you can see the Sheraton Hotel. So those are things that are coming up, and I hope everybody will participate. I've got a guest today. Cooper, you have to sit pretty close to the microphone. This is Cooper Caraway. Good morning.
Good morning, Gene.
Local activist, is that a good enough title for you?
That works perfectly.
And what have you been working on lately?
Well, right now I've been getting more involved in the labor movement. But historically, since I was 16, I've worked with different organizations pursuing immigrant rights, the peace movement, and as well as combating police brutality.
You ran for mayor, too.
I ran for mayor of Mount Pleasant, Texas when I was 20 years old, yes.
How did that come out?
I believe I got 22 votes out of 550 or so. That's
better than I did when I ran for Congress. I got 150 out of, 200,000 or something like that.
About the same.
So, congratulations on a long career. And you're now 22.
Yes.
And you've had a long career of activism. You've been coming Job with Justice meetings, and you were at the meeting on Wednesday where we did a listening session.
Correct, yeah.
Now, a listening session is what the AFl-CIO is calling for everybody to do. You don't have to be smart. You don't have to be a union member. You don't have to be anything. In fact, even a dumbbell like me can call for one of these meetings. So I called for one on last Wednesday night. Kooper was one of the people that showed up. And how did you think it went?
It went really well. I think it was really productive, and particularly the wide range of individuals we had at the meeting, I think, was very helpful and can be very helpful for the AFL-CIO in the future.
There weren't any union members there to speak of, were there?
Oh, I think he recruited some American Association of Retired People members.
Yeah, I guess some people signed up for the Texas Alliance for Retired Americans, but in other words, you don't have to be a union member to be concerned about the union movement.
Right.
And the AFL-CIO wants your input. They're doing this online at AFL-CIO.org, but they're also calling for people to form these little listening sessions. And then there's a form that you can fill out. You can get the form online at AFL-CIO.org, or you can just fill out another form, which is also online. And it's very simple. What they basically want you to do is tell them 3 of the most important things you discussed that unions should be doing. Hopefully it's things that they're not already doing. And one of the things that we realized on Wednesday night was that National AFL-CIO is doing a lot of stuff that's not soaked down throughout the whole union movement. And you spoke on a video about one of our suggestions. You want to tell us what that was?
Right. One of the suggestions we came up with was suggesting that possibly the National AFL-CIO has been, admittedly, has been very, very progressive when it comes to the whole new media sensation that is in the nation these days, whether it's Twitter or Vine or YouTube and all these other things, and they've used it quite well. What we're saying is that maybe it should trickle down to the local level, and so the AFL-CIO nationally should be sending in people to these local unions and these smaller unions and things like that, and training them on how they can utilize this new media so they can reach a whole new demographic that just isn't hearing what union's saying.
So it needs to come soak down through the whole union movement. Bonnie, Mathias, how's the CWA? How's the communication workers on this?
We have a group that was formed maybe even 2 years ago, CWA Next Generation. We're really reaching out a lot to young men and women under the age of 35, which of course is a very large share of our workforce.
Yeah.
But we're trying to get them interested and get them educated and help them to educate other people about unions and why it's so important that we organize and stick together for everyone's sake, not just for the people that have union jobs currently, but for the workforce in general, because when wages go up, everybody is raised up.
Yeah, but let me test you on this because of what Kooper said. You're talking about a national program that CWA has, right?
Yes.
Okay. What do they have locally?
Well,
is there anything that comes down, to set up so that local unions will, for example, use Vine? And before this is over, we have to find out what that is.
Right, right. We have, our secretary is Mary Linhart is very media savvy, if you will, and she set us up a Facebook page, and we have a great website. We're on Twitter. I'm just learning about Vine and Reddit and things like that, but I'm sure that, as we go forward, we will continue to reach out. Our internet services people are mostly young, tech-savvy people, and they expect to get their information from social media.
Kooper, what are Vine and Reddit?
Well, Reddit is a forum website. Basically, you go to Reddit and you can see, you can discuss any topic, ranging, from political, social, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, whatever anyone in the world wants to discuss, there's a forum for it. Vine is pretty new, and so you guys get a pass for not quite knowing what it is.
Okay, thank you.
Vine is sort of like YouTube, except it's for Twitter. And so they're instantly it's instant video uploads from your Twitter account.
Cool.
So you use your Twitter account to pass on links to videos, or do you actually put the video?
You put the
on
videos
Vine?
on Vine.
I see.
Yeah.
And then, it posts to your Twitter account.
Yes.
And then you post it to your Twitter account.
Yes.
And how is that better than just putting them on YouTube?
It's growing in popularity. People are just bored with YouTube, and so Vine is a new thing. And even though it may not be that much, similar, even though it may not be different than, YouTube is still growing in popularity the same way Facebook wasn't very different from MySpace when it first came along, and yet it grew in popularity because it was different.
Well, and I'm snowed because they're going to keep on bringing up new things too, aren't they? But the point of our suggestion from the listening session was that this should be a national program to bring technology down to the lower levels, to everybody's level.
Yeah, and I think the AFl-CIO that's something they can do better all around with all of their programs is make sure that it reaches the lower ranking and rank and file workers better, because they're doing great nationally, they're doing fantastic nationally, but what they really need to do is make sure all their programs and all their coalition building and everything like that is reaching the local level.
Yeah, and I don't know if just setting up schools would work, but some kind of program to bring new technology throughout the labor movement. That was one of our suggestions at the listening session on Wednesday. Another one was to have and this is relevant because we were just saying, how would you train people? Another one is to have an online school. See, the AFl-CIO already has a college. You can get a college degree through the AFl-CIO, the National Labor College, I believe they call it. And it's in Silver Springs, Maryland. And I know Kenneth Stretcher has a degree from there. That's one person I know. But anyway, they also just teach a lot of, like seminars and 1-month programs and stuff like that. But you have to go to Silver Springs, Maryland to do that. Then various unions also have training for their members, not usually in the locals, but like in a regional sense. The UAW, my own union, for example, has a summer school, and we sent 3 retirees this year, and probably, I don't know, somewhere between 7 and 10 active members go and spend a week in Norman, Oklahoma, at the University of Oklahoma, for intensive training on union issues, politics, organizing, collective bargaining, settling grievances. So they have a training system set up. Now I'll ask Bonnie what CWA does.
We have a program called CWA Net, that's Network Engineering Technology Training, that is all done online. So, but that's to kind of give you training to go into different fields of telecommunications. So it's really not.
So that's job training.
Right, job training.
So the company actually participates in that.
No, they don't.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I don't think. Now, they may actually, they used to give us their requirements for jobs, but I guess we were turning out too many intelligent folks applying for jobs, so now they just don't tell us. That makes sense, right? Because we don't want intelligent workers.
So that's training for jobs, though. But what about, for example, union history? What if you wanted to learn union history? What would you do?
Well, we offer job steward training, job steward schools. We do those 2 or 3 times a year. It's a 2-day training class where you get kind of an overview as well as more intensive training about how to handle grievances.
That's face-to-face training.
Yes, face-to-face training.
People go to the class.
Right.
And is that done locally or regionally or nationally or what?
It's district-wide. We'll pull in 30 folks from out of our membership, which is about 4,000 members, and then the district sends in a staff rep to train it, and then the officers of the local also play a part in that training.
So it takes place in Dallas around your local 6215?
Yes. We've also been doing a lot of contract-specific training. To help our internet services people who are currently in bargaining. Their contract
the local does
today.
that. The local does that.
Yes.
Because the contracts keep changing, and so they have to keep retraining the people who service those contracts.
Exactly.
We do the same. We do similar stuff in the United Auto Workers. But the proposal that came out Wednesday was that there be a free online 24/7 school for union issues. It wouldn't just be contract servicing, and it wouldn't just be labor history, but labor law, for example, and particularly labor political issues, things that we're supposed to be working on trying to do. The immigration issue right now, for example, is a very, very big one, but I don't know of any training going on in the auto workers union about that. Do you know of any in communication workers?
Nope, I sure don't.
So if we had a free online school that was available 24/7, it would be available all the time for union members, but that wasn't even the point of our proposal. The point of the proposal was to make it online available to everyone.
Everyone, yeah.
To everyone, because I don't know if we can substantiate this, but I think one could say, without much fear of contradiction, that unions are not popular in America.
That's very sad, but it's true.
Bonnie thinks so. What do you think, Cooper?
I agree. I believe you're right. Nail on the head. Unions are not popular, and especially in comparison to labor history in the United States today, they're probably less popular than they've ever been.
Yeah.
And the reason for that, we may say, is because
Governor Scott Walker,
Governor Rick Perry,
Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz,
and the fact that the corporations own all the media.
Yep.
Except for this
radio station. That's right.
972-647-1893 is the number. I'd kind of like your opinion on this. Are unions popular in America, or are they not? Or do they deserve the popularity or the unpopularity that they have? What do you think? 972-647-1893. So the idea would be that unions need to educate everybody else, not just their members, and not just how to run their contracts, but for example, the bumper sticker that a lot of union members carry now, which is very popular. It says unions, the people who brought you weekends.
Yep.
Because I don't think most Americans realize that they wouldn't even have weekends.
Or 40-hour work weeks.
Yeah.
Or safety on the job.
Social Security. Unemployment compensation.
There you go.
972-647-1893 is the number. And, you know, KNON really likes it when you call.
We do, too.
It's the voice of the people. Well, I don't know if I do or not.
Well, you know, it's one of those things. It's one of those necessary evils, Steve.
It's our opinionated. No, seriously, we really do want you to call.
We do.
972-647-1893. Your opinions are important. And, you know, this whole process of getting our opinions to the AFl-CIO is what we were doing Wednesday with the listening session thing.
I hate I missed it.
We'll be back with Cooper Caraway in just a few minutes.
The Dallas Summer Food Program is returning this summer. The DISD Food and Child Nutrition Services, the Texas Department of Agriculture, and other sponsors are working together to offer the Summer Food Service Program from June 17th to August 2nd for Dallas children. Meals and snacks will be provided to children ages 1 through 18 at specific sites throughout Dallas. To find out more info, the phone number is 211, or their website is squaremeals.org. Or their text keyword is FoodTX at 877-877.
When they're gone for good. This is Scott from KNON's Texas Blues Radio telling you don't miss out on some great blues. KNON's Texas Blues Radio Volume 5 Blues CD. It's a CD put together by real blues fans for real blues fans like you. Texas Blues Radio Volume 5 features great local blues from Michael J. and the Paul Bird Band, JJ and the Detonators, the Chris Watson Band, the Two Tones, Rough Cut Blues Band, Jeff Stone with Charlie Love, Dave Millsap, Sirloin and the Ass Kicking Machine, Tutu Jones, Blues Boy Bo, Buddy Whittington, Andrea Dawson, Kirkland James, Sonny Colley, and Johnny Red and the Roosters. Get a copy now at Forever Young Records in Grand Prairie, Record Town in Fort Worth, and in Dallas at Bill's Records. This is a Dallas Blues collector's item. A very limited amount of vinyl copies can be found at Forever Young Records, the sponsor of this great blues project. CD downloads are available at cdbaby.com. Whether you get it as a download, on vinyl, or on CD, all the proceeds will benefit KNON. For more info on Texas Blues Radio Volume 5, visit knon.org.
Blue Monday. Got to work like a slave all day.
We hate Blue Monday, but we love Saturday. 972-647-1893 is the number. Marjorie's online. Let's see what Marjorie has to say. Thanks for calling.
Good morning, Marjorie.
Marjorie, you have to talk. You can't just call.
She wanted to know the the location of the pro-choice rally on Monday, and that is going to be at City Hall from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Bonnie, do you know who these people are that are calling
I think
this?
I know Marjorie.
No, I don't mean Marjorie. I mean, do you know who called this event? Because they said it's a new organization.
Texas Stand Up with Women,
No.
Stand for Women. Who is it?
It's not. It's a new organization, and I have no idea who it might really be. Do you know, Kooper?
Dallas For Reproductive Justice.
Uh-huh.
I believe it's sort of a coalition that was thrown together in the wake of this controversy and of the Senate bill coming through.
Is Planned Parenthood in it? Because Planned Parenthood is leading the fight.
You know, I'm not.
Everywhere
you know,
else.
I'm not 100% sure what their involvement is, but I do know that they're. It's mostly, recognized Dallas activists that we all know have formed this.
Do we have Marjorie back on? Oh, thanks. Thanks for calling, Marjorie. Talk to us. It's still not coming through, Doc.
Somehow.
There you are. Now we hear you, Marjorie. Go ahead and start again.
We talk a lot in the meeting about reaching people online. But I've been thinking that we also need to reach people who are living in poverty. And a lot of these people do not have any internet access.
Good point.
And the way to reach people like that is on radio like we're doing now. But I was thinking the NPR station now has a sibling station. If there was some way we could get a sibling station for this one that is nothing but talk, and for this one to be all music or vice versa, because we've got about 5 hours on a Saturday morning, and that's it of talk. But there's so much information that needs to be disseminated that we need a lot more airtime than that. And this is not something that can happen overnight, but it's something that needed both locally and nationally to have more radio presence to counteract all this controlled top-down media that's just being dished out by the elite.
Yeah, Marjorie, did you know that that it's now possible for people to start their own low-power FM stations?
Yes, I'm referring to that. And there was an initiative for that in Memphis, but I think it's been derailed, and I don't want to waste airtime on what was going on up there, which was part of why I left. But that's something that needs to be pursued all over the country.
So people that are listening, if you're interested in starting another radio station, low-powered radio station, it can be done fairly economically. I don't really know how to do it. We've got KNON, so we don't really we're not that worried about it. But Marjorie's suggestion is that there be more radio, and that labor could get behind the idea of getting more radio and more radio time. If of course, this program owes a great debt to the communication workers of America for helping us stay on the air.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And we've also gotten donations from the elevator constructors, the Teamsters,
UAW, your local,
auto workers, and individual union members that have helped too.
Absolutely.
And not to mention, a lot of people that are just interested in unions but have kept us on the air. But Marjorie's making a good point. More radio to reach more people. So let's get on.
And that's,
Go ahead,
that's
Marjorie.
the best way to reach people who are in poverty. They are a constituency that must never be forgotten. It's just these people are suffering, and their situation is unbearable, and that must be a very high priority to reach them, and I'm not impugning KNON in any way. I'm just saying that the amount of airtime that's being used for music, which is all well and good, there needs to be a comparable amount of airtime to talk, because the issues are so numerous and so complex.
We're gonna have a fun drive.
There was a sister station.
Okay. Thanks, Marjorie. We are going to have a fund drive pretty soon, and maybe we can bring that up, that we should start KNON 2.0, start another radio station. If we do that well on the fund drive, maybe we can talk station manager Dave Chaos into opening some more stations and making a chain of it, and with a lot of talk radio. 972-647-1893. They love it when you call, so please do call KNON 972-647-1893. Now, we've been talking about an online school. The reason we're so heavy on the technology business is because of youth. Is it not, Kooper?
That's true. The unions, amongst the youth today, unions, like you said, are not popular. And I think that's why you say, the unions are not popular in America, is because they're not popular amongst
with
the
young
youth.
people. And in some ways, this is an intrinsic problem that unions have. Unions are built on solidarity for seniority. In other words, the boss would like to just pick and choose whoever they're going to keep and whoever they're going to fire, and they'd like to be able to do that on an hourly basis. So, you go home, you can come back in. The way they do it at Walmart, to just basically get rid of anybody that they want to get rid of and bring in anybody they want to bring in. So the problem with that is that in a period of attrition like the unions have been going through since 1957, the younger people are the ones that get laid off first, because the older people have more seniority. So the union movement is getting gray. It's getting grayer and grayer. And younger people are feeling more and more alienated from the union movement. And the way to reach younger people is through technology. That's Cooper's point, right?
Right. And I think, it's not only technology, but you have to rebuild the union culture in the United States. I mean, before, unions reached a lot of popularity in the, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, mostly because whole unions whole families were union families. Mm-hmm. The father would tell their kids when they first got a job that this is a union family, son. You need to join this union, things like that. But when the mass union busting of the glorious Reagan Revolution occurred, then you have that busted up the family union of the unions, and so now it's not being passed down. And so I think the union movement needs to go ahead and try to rebuild the whole culture.
And if we're going to reach the youth, it's largely going to be through technology.
Right. Yeah. And I think Marjorie had a point that some people may not have internet access, right, but most people can find it. Most people can find internet access, particularly most young people. Right. And I would like to touch on something she said. She made a good point about the labor movement needs to reach out to people in poverty, and I think they have a great program in place to where they can do that. It's called Working America. You guys are probably familiar with it. It's basically the AFl-CIO has formed this non-union organization of people to go out and canvass neighborhoods and organize non-union people and even non-working people to support the labor movement.
972-647-1893. If you have an opinion, Bill's on the line. Good morning, Bill. Thanks for calling KNON. Can you bring him on?
What's that?
Don't hear you yet, Bill. Start over.
You want to?
We're operating.
Now?
There you go. Yeah, we got you, Bill. Go ahead.
Good morning to you.
Morning.
It's a beautiful sunshiny day in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Mm-hmm. I love KNON. I'm a blues country music guy, and I love what y'all put on the air. But I think you missed the point on the problem with public perceptions and appreciation of unions. Okay. I think unions have become, just like any other big bureaucracy, they serve the guys at the top and forget about the members. So the folks that are pulling down hundreds of thousands of dollars in union jobs, working for the union, they get theirs but poor rank and file is left on the outside looking in.
So,
and
Bill,
that's
you
the
would be
reason-
one of the people then that does not like unions, right?
No,
That's what we were just saying.
I'm an old Teamster, buddy.
You do like unions.
Absolutely. I like unions that serve their members.
Uh-huh.
Unions that exist for the leadership of the union
But you're saying that they don't.
are not good.
But you're saying that they
no.
don't.
Oh, big bunches of them. All they care about is the guys getting rich who hold down the jobs as union officials.
Man, I wish that were true. I sure wish that were true.
Bonnie's a
because
union
I'm a union
official.
official, and guess what? I am not getting rich. Neither is anybody else in our local or staff or national. I mean, we have the ability to look at everybody's salary across the board because we are we have a transparent union, and I promise you, nobody in CWA is getting rich. We're working our asses off, but we are not getting rich.
Okay, well, go ahead, Bill.
You need to go to UAW.
Wait a minute.
I'm telling you, these folks are pulling down a bunch of money.
Bill, I'm sorry, Bill. I'm sorry, Bill, but that's not true. You can't back that up. I actually checked on the salary of the international president of the UAW, and he was making at that time $105,000, and this was maybe 10 years ago. I don't know if they've gotten a raise since then, but $105,000. There's people driving the trucks in the Teamsters that make more than that.
Absolutely.
So
I've got techs that work for AT&T that make that much, if not more, when they work overtime.
Well, go ahead though and finish your point, Bill.
I just think y'all are behind the times in terms of what some of these guys who hold down these union jobs are doing. Now, I grant you, it's worse with government employee unions than it is with private sector unions. It is. But goodness sakes, I can't. I was a member of the Teamsters when Jimmy Hoffa was still around. Things have gotten better, but they haven't gotten so much better that you've got a gazillion people out here just happy as they can be with their union leadership because there's too much of it that is corrupt or ineffective. That's all I'm saying.
Well, then all these people, and I appreciate that too, but let me tell you, if you're a union member out there and you're unhappy with the leadership, then get your butt involved and make a difference. Because you can't just sit back and go, I don't like it, I'm unhappy. It's just like people who complain about the government, but they don't vote.
Okay, you touched a nerve with Bonnie. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for your opinion. And I think, we asked, are people, are unions popular with people? And the brother has called and said, even though he loves them, they're all terrible things. So 972-647-1893 is the number. We're talking about suggestions for the AFl-CIO. We got Kooper Caraway here, who's not an AFl-CIO member, right?
Correct.
Would you like to be if you could?
Yeah, I would be if I was in a workplace that had an AFL-CIO union or even Change to Win or any union. I would
love to be in
happy.
a union.
I would be happy to join it because being part of a union, maybe you become unhappy with the national leadership at some point. As American citizens become unhappy with their government. But the good thing about unions, I think, is because I've worked for UPS before, so I've been a Teamster member before. But the good thing about it is you have some dignity in the workplace because you feel like you can control your own destiny. To a certain extent, you have a vote. You have a vote in how your workplace goes, and you have a vote in your national leadership.
Okay, so we've got one advocate here. Who thinks that unions are a pretty good thing, even though he's not a member of one, and one guy that called to say that they're corrupt to the bone.
But I think he probably represents a good portion of at least our surroundings here in Dallas and in Texas.
He may have gotten that opinion from his own experience, and he said he was a member of the Teamsters back in the Hoffa days, and of course in the Hoffa days there was a lot of corruption was alleged. I don't know how true it was, but He may have gotten that opinion there, but most people aren't getting their opinion from personal experience. They're getting their opinion directly from the bosses.
Right.
The bosses are telling you what to think about everything, not just about unions, but about radio stations, about everything. Let's face it, the bosses own all the newspapers. They own all the TV. They own all the textbook manufacturers. They own all the movies. And things that you think of as just being part of life are actually part of the bosses, what the bosses want you to think.
Right.
And this is not science fiction. This is reality in America today. The people who own the big corporations control the information sources, all of your information sources.
That's right.
The people who control the big corporations can get your preacher fired. Did you know that? They
Yep,
can. They can
that's
get your
right.
preacher fired, and they do it all the time. They can get your teacher fired, and they do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They can get your radio announcer fired, and so far they haven't.
So far, we haven't been fired.
Well,
Well,
because
actually,
KNON's the people's station, and we beg for money. That's
Yeah,
how we keep.
that's how we stay
keep
here.
doing it. But for the most part, the big corporations control just about every word you hear.
Mm-hmm.
And one of their messages, and one of their strongest messages, is that organizing for working people is a terrible idea. You should never want to get involved in organizing with working people. It's a very, 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 very terrible thing, a very, very terrible idea to have. So we have to keep in mind when we're talking about getting people information and touting unions and saying that organizing is a good idea, we have to keep in mind that there's another side to this.
Mm-hmm.
The other side is rich people. The other side is the ones who control the corporations, and they're working overtime to convince you that the opposite is true. So that's what we're up against. It's not just that people don't know the truth. It's that people are being told lies constantly, every day, and thoroughly, and in every sense, so much that it soaks into the pores of your skin.
And they have more money. I mean, let's face it. They have the money that the right wing spends to spin their stories is astronomical.
That's true.
And they said, well, unions they spend a lot of money on politics. Not nearly as much as the other side, because we
In
just
fact,
don't have it.
It was 11 to 1.
Oh my
Corporations
gosh.
outspent the unions 11 to 1 in the most recent figures. But also speaking of figures, and according to polls, most Americans, the majority of American workers, want to be in a union, would be in a union like Kooper if they could find their way. The truth is, it's very, 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 very hard to organize a union, and it's going to get a lot harder if the Supreme Court rules the way I think they're going to. And we'll be right back.
Don't say it.
Tell you all a story that's close to me. The worker who's leaning on a bended knee, soiled and tattered in search of relief, fighting for some unspoken belief. Heard of the story, John Henry Brown spent his life beating steam drills.
Recycle Revolution is a local recycling collection service and community drop-off center. They collect and accept all traditional recyclables, including paper, plastic, aluminum, cardboard, and glass, as well as TVs, computers, lamps, light bulbs, batteries, ballasts, and styrofoam. They offer collection services to apartments, condos, and businesses. They also offer a community drop-off located at 1703 Chestnut Street in Dallas. For more information, 214-566-3025 or recyclerevolutiondallas.com.
We're back on the air with the Workers Beat, 972-647-1893. We're here with Kooper Caraway and taking your calls at 972-647-1893. Jason's on the line. Let's have Jason talk. Thanks for calling KNON, Jason.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I just wanted to let you know there is someone out there that supports unions. My, I think it's like 3 times great-grandfather was part of one of the first unions in Texas at the Texas Pacific Coal Company in Thurber, Texas. He was a coal miner, immigrated to Texas from San Luis Potosí, Mexico.
Really?
Brought his family up there to mine coal. They had a couple of generations mining coal out there. There were the children were World War I veterans, World War II veterans. I think what those of us that support unions need to do is promulgate that history through campaigns, through information campaigns, because the things those guys did, I'm an engineer now. I'm not in a union, but the things those guys did made it possible for what I do.
Do you know a little bit more about Thurber, Jason?
The reason why I know about it is because I started trying to do some Ancestry.com research, finding out about my father's history. I didn't know a whole lot about it, but I come to find out a lot about Thurber, and Thurber was, it was boomtown from about 1860 to 1924 before they shut it down in favor of all oil production at the Texas Pacific Coal Company, which turned to Texas Pacific Oil and Gas. And, that was probably the most international city in the nation, because what the coal company tried to do was bring in workers from all over the world, from England, from Italy, from Poland, Czechoslovakia, Mexico. But what they didn't count on was, even though that was an all company town, the company owned the houses, they owned the stores, they owned the churches, they owned the dance halls.
And
they didn't
point out
on
too,
those guys organizing and shutting them down, because
let me point out too that the reason that they brought in so many different kinds of immigrants is they didn't want people to talk to each other. They wanted racism and ethnic hatred to keep the workers apart. But go ahead, what happened after that?
No, yes, they had a grand scheme of trying to get the work going with little to no wages. I mean, if you live in Thurber, Texas, you shopped at the company store, you got paid in company credit. You really later on, when they were shutting the place down, I don't know if they got a heart or what, but there is records that they allowed some of the workers that weren't able to find work in other parts of the state, they allowed them to stay in the company houses for free for periods of up to 2 years, until they found a new location.
Was that just something nice that the company decided to do for them?
It was. Now, was there an ulterior motive? Probably. Were they told by a legislator to do something like that? You never know. I mean, there are backdoor deals that happen all the time. Well,
we skipped over something, Jason. Those workers organized. Thurber was Thurber is in all of Texas history is the only all-union town.
That's right.
It's the only all-union town, and so they did have a pretty good life there because they all unionized. They overcame their racial and language and ethnic differences, and formed a union, and then they organized the rest of the town.
That's right. And
so even the newspaper delivery boy was in a union.
That's awesome.
In Thurber.
Well, it sounds like you know more about Thurber than I do. So
well, it's still there. It's a ghost town, but you can still go there and you can still find out about it.
In fact, I want to visit Thurber because I know some of my family is buried there.
Yes. You're going to love that graveyard because it's full of AFl-CIO symbols.
Wow.
The two hands shaking together. It's on a lot of the gravestones.
Where is Thurber?
I just wanted to share my history with you guys. I'll hang up and listen to you.
Thanks so much, Jason.
Okay.
Thurber is a little bit west of Fort Worth, and it's not that hard to find. It's right on the highway. Okay, let's go on talking about what we did Wednesday night at our listening session, and I want to encourage everybody to think about participating in a listening session. You can do this at the Texas AFl-CIO convention, which is this Thursday at the Sheraton Hotel on Highway 114 at the north entrance to the airport. But the the third thing that we came up with at our listening session on Wednesday with Cooper Caraway, you want to tell about it, Cooper?
Yeah, a long time ago, long before I was born at least, there was a thing called the International Labor Defense Fund, and this was a defense fund set up for workers who were fired, for union activity, or maybe they suffered some type of repercussion because of their union activity, or just because of the boss's negligence. But it was discontinued, and I'm not sure why. Maybe but what we suggested is that we need to bring it back. We need to have some type of defense fund for workers in any circumstance, because I think a lot of people's hesitation to becoming active in the labor movement are those repercussions that they could face. The stick handing over their head.
And that came up Wednesday because there were people there from the Restore the Fourth movement, the people that are trying to bring back the Fourth Amendment, and they said that somebody got fired because their boss found out that they had attended this rally on an off day when they weren't supposed to be working on July the 4th down at Clyde Warren Park in downtown Dallas. So we don't know who that is yet or anything. This is just what we heard. But the point is that if somebody did get fired for having attended a rally, we should have some kind of defense fund. There should be some kind of way to fight back against that. And we looked in historical precedent and found out that they used to have that. The reason I think, Cooper, that they don't have it anymore is because in 1935 or 36, I think it was 36, they passed the National Labor Relations Act. The National Labor Relations Act was, legally speaking, the most important accomplishment that American labor ever had. Passed under the Roosevelt administration, and it was because the unions had worked really hard to get Roosevelt elected for his second term. And so the unions were able to get the National Labor Relations Act passed, which for the first time ever gave the unions legitimacy. Because prior to that time, you were always getting arrested for union activities. For being on a picket line, you could get your head split open or you could get thrown in jail. And after the National Labor Relations Act was passed, they called it the Labor's Magna Carta. It was that big of a historical event in American labor history. Today, the National Labor Relations Act is being gutted because they set up the agency that's supposed to enforce it is the National Labor Relations Board, which is still there and still functioning and supposed to be supervising over labor issues. When people have an organizing drive or a strike or something like that, they go to the National Labor Relations Board, and that's the government supervising organization. However, certain senators, and all of them are Republicans in Congress, are keeping us from having the commissioners, because the commissioners are appointed by the president. And when the president appoints one, the people in the Senate say, no, you can't have that one.
Well, he appointed 3 or 4 during the recess, and they came back and said, oh, you can't do that. Of course, every other president ever before was able to do it, but not the black guy.
Yeah. So now they're saying that President Obama can't make these appointments, and they're blocking him one way or the other. And one of the Republican senators went so far as to say that we don't want them to have those commissioners, and we're going to stop it no matter what. And if the National Labor Relations Board dies, that would be a good thing. So they're basically trying to outlaw unions again. They're trying to place us back through parliamentary tricks. They're trying to throw us back into the days when unions had no recourse, could not go to the unions, could not go to the government for any kind of help at all. 972-647-1893 is the number. We look forward to your calls. John is online. Can you get John on? No, wait till we start hearing you, John.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, now we hear you. Thanks for calling.
Yes, sir. I'm in the trucking business myself, and about 10 years I worked for a company. I managed a warehouse of about, 35 or 40 drivers. Half of them they were union, and I went to college to get into management, so I learned how to work with unions. But you made a comment earlier. Most contracts that we did, or all contracts that we did with the union, had been determined months before the contract was over with. We would meet with the Teamsters people, say at a Holiday Inn over a cup of coffee, and we would say, well, what do you want? What do you want? And though without the stewards there, and everything was settled way ahead of time, I didn't have any problems working in that environment. I didn't have it because the work rules are pretty well established. But I was hired by another company that their employees wanted to become a union, and they were scared. The management was scared because they didn't know how to handle it. So I went in, and another manager went in, and we helped them work through their contract. And what happened is they got increased productivity because once the rules were established, this is how your production is, this is how much you got to do, and this is how many the drivers got to do this, this, and this. They saw their productivity. They saw their productivity go up for very low wages. I mean, the wages weren't no big increase the first 4 years, and this was maybe 10 or 15 years ago.
All right.
So I thought that was interesting. What we did was they were concerned. They had never dealt with union people before, and it wasn't that big a deal. It really wasn't. Once you get everything went up, productivity went up, and what we did was a person that had I know you're not going to like this, but the person that organized him, or he was from Chicago, and we knew at different places that these two places I work at never hire anybody from Chicago or New York because we knew that because they had union experience. They understood. And I'm not pro or against unions. I don't care either way. But what we did was, I know you're not going to like it, I say it a second time, we made him a manager, then fired him. So
that's still happening today.
Yeah. Well, that's a common trick. Go ahead.
Right. No, well, it wasn't a trick. I mean, he wanted it, and then he wasn't a very good manager, so he had to go. So, but the other thing is, you made comments about big business owning TV, radio. That's not true, because if you look at CNN, ABC, CBS, the liberals own it all. They own it all.
Are you kidding? Are you kidding?
So what do you? No, I'm not kidding. So
okay.
So what do you? So what do you really have? You listen to maybe Fox, or if you listen to NPR like I'm forced to do driving all over the United States, it's like it always starts out the same with NPR. I start listening to them, I think, well, this is going to be pretty good. All of a sudden they have to go into a black issue, an Indian issue, and you say to yourself, what the hell is becoming of people that they're trying to separate us? The young lady you're talking to there, or the young lady in your studio, the first thing that she brings up is a black issue. There is no issues for it. No, you can laugh, but we don't have an issue.
Okay.
It's people like her, or it's people in the media that constantly bring up black-white issues, gay, not gay issues. On and on this goes to keep the people separated.
Okay.
To keep us separated, like this thing going on in Sanford. I'm from Florida. I know those people in Sanford. They're not, I don't know this guy Zimmerman. I don't know this, but it's just a constant harassment of people, dividing people. So I don't have any problem. My grandfather was an organizer in Tennessee of carpenters, and my grandmother used to tell me he used to come home with his head broken, broken nose. And I come from a union family from Tennessee, but that's the only comment. I started listening to your station a couple of weeks ago coming through Dallas. I said, well, this is interesting, but I don't know. I'm not worried about, I don't think anybody should be concerned about unions. That's all I have to say.
Thanks so much. People shouldn't be concerned about unions, and they should not be concerned about the bosses owning all the media either.
Or race, or sexism, or homophobia.
Yeah, because those are not real issues.
Those don't exist.
And we have a lot of black people listening to this, and they'll be glad to know that there's no racial issue. They really are making as much money as white people now.
I'm thrilled. I didn't know that.
Women are making as much money as the men. Okay, let's have Tanya online. Thanks for calling KNON.
Oh, good. Hello, how are you? Good to hear you, Gene. To know that you and Bonnie are still there fighting the same old stupid demons. My father was AFl-CIO, Brotherhood Maintenance away for 58 years on the railroad, Southern Railway. my mom could stay home while my dad worked and supported 12 kids and a wife.
Wow.
You couldn't do that now unless you sold dope in this country or you own a bank.
Mm-hmm.
And for this man who called in earlier, brother, you get a black story on NPR, you doing good, because the Koch brothers own about a third of all of them anymore. The Koch brothers,
Are they the liberals? Jason said the liberals own all the stations.
They ain't been, but I could tell when he called in. You see, I grew up in Georgia. I'm home for a family reunion. I don't even live in the States anymore because I'm sick of it. And I'm an old warrior. I need rest.
Is this Dr. Tony?
Yeah, I moved all the way to Tahiti.
Dr. Tony, you used to call a long time ago, and I sure missed you.
Yeah.
Come back to
moved
Dallas.
to Tahiti?
Yeah.
And you did not call and invite me to come with you?
You can come visit anytime. Bonnie, I will leave my phone number, which is international now.
Awesome.
You can come and do it. But from the very first, I heard this man talking when he called in, because at first they real apologetic. But let me tell you how the union screwed themselves, and I'll let you go, because I know you're short on time. The union screwed themselves because of people like him, who's supposed to be sympathetic. They went in and divided and conquered, and unions became even prejudiced. And they stopped. You look at the Teamsters. You look at a lot of the machinists that are basically at places like Lockheed and Bell. They wouldn't even let people of color get in anymore. And now they are fat, divided, and unhappy, and losing everything they had. Unions depend on cohesiveness to have strength. You have nothing else to bargain with.
That's right.
And when you allow yourself to become too comfortable and think you're just as rich as the people who own your contract, until you sign your own check, you're not rich in this country. You need a labor union.
Absolutely.
They should be everywhere, but I love you guys. I miss you guys. I still stream you.
Don't hang up. I'm going to get your phone number.
Okay, please do.
And we'll be there to visit you too in Tahiti.
Please come on.
We're almost out of time. Let's give Cooper Caraway a chance to kind of summarize and talk about whatever he wants to talk about. Thanks for coming, Cooper.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I think we can walk away from today acknowledging that it's a historic step that the AFl-CIO is making here and asking for different ways that they can improve. And I think that's clearly the first sign of improvement, whether it's in an alcoholic or a failing labor movement. The first step is admitting that you have a problem.
Right on.
I love it. Good job.
Okay. Bonnie, you want to say anything at the last?
I want to thank Dr. Tony for calling in and really, putting the nail on the head, or the head on the nail or something. Labor unions, we have got to work together, and they have tried to separate us, but we aren't falling for it for the most part.
I think we should credit the new leadership of the AFl-CIO and also the Texas AFl-CIO for overcoming a lot of the problems that dogged us in the past and ways that we got a bad reputation. And we're overcoming that now. Thanks so much for listening to KNON. We'll be back next week.
See you next week.
KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to KNON.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.